deepest level of slavery to the banks. So I would say to you and your kids, tell your kids this, by the way, don't worry about your credit score. In fact, if you have a lower one, you'd be better off. We need to teach our kids. I go back to something I said earlier, which apparently struck a very responsive nerve among many of you. I've always wanted to do a youth branch of the Freedom Academy, which would teach kids, among other things, how to not borrow responsibly. Teach them why it's not a good idea to borrow for consumer debt. And teach them the difference between different kinds of debt. And teach them, you know, a lot of kids don't know about compounded interest. They've never seen a chart with compounded interest. They are amazed when you show that to them. We've got to give the young people a new mantra, which is not preserve your credit score, but a new mantra, which is, it's better to receive interest than to pay interest. You know, get these kids repeating that every morning as they're, you know, combing their hair or whatever. We have a safer generation coming up. So it starts with the deprogramming of the American people with their attitude toward debt. Here's a very tough one. An issue: debt cancellation and debt reduction programs. I'm sure you've all run into these. If you haven't, you soon will. There are advertisements all over the place, especially on the internet, telling you that you can get out of debt if you retain the services of this company. They will show you how you can walk away from your debt completely. There are other programs that show you how to reduce your debt and to renegotiate with a bank or some other lending institution. And these are two different animals. I firmly approve of the debt reduction programs that will help somebody that's over their head in debt to go to their lending institution and renegotiate that debt down. I totally approve of that. And in many cases, it's very doable. And these lending institutions are willing to do it because they know that if they don't, the chances of losing that customer are high. And they'll just have to write the whole debt off. They'd rather take a half an apple than no apple at all. Debt reduction programs make sense, and they're totally ethical, in my view. But now this other category, debt elimination programs. I have a little problem with that. The argument is that, well, the banks are bad. They're bad people. They're a corrupt industry, and they're stealing money from you. I have no argument so far on any of that. Therefore, and here's where the tough part is, therefore, you have a right to walk away from their debt, your debt to them, because they're bad people, and they made some mistakes. The laws are very strict regarding loan documents. Everything from consumer debt, credit card debt documents, all the way up to real estate debt and mortgages. And in almost every case, the banks have been slipshod, and in those documents, they have not adhered to every aspect of the law. They may not have made full disclosure on something regarding the origin of the loan. You see, when you borrow money from the bank for something that is secured, a secured loan as they call it, it is true that they create the money out of nothing. But now I'm going to say something which may surprise you. I still think that in spite of that, the bank is performing a valuable service. Oh, you didn't? What, something happened to Griffin? Water is Here's why I say that. It's true that the value of that money that they create is derived from, let's say, your house. You're putting up your house. When you walk into the bank, they say, what have you got in the way of collateral? You say, well, I've got my house. And they say, okay, that house is worth, let's just say, $200,000, and we will create money out of nothing and give it to you as long as that house is held now in security to back up that money. Now, they don't say it that way, but they just say, we'll loan you the money, which is part of the problem. They're not loaning the money to you at all. They're creating money out of nothing based on the value of your house. And then through this contractual arrangement, they put your house behind that money. And in that act, your money now becomes valid money because it is backed by something tangible, something of value. Not gold or silver, but it's backed by your house, which is valuable. So now this money is not just complete fiat money. It has backing. Tangible property, whether it's your house, your car, your TV set, or what have you. It actually is really good money. But they don't tell you that they created it based upon the value that you put forth. You see, you actually put forth the value to back the money. They made money for you, not for them. They said, okay, we, through the magic of these contracts and our status in the marketplace and the fact that we're legally allowed to do that, we will make money for you. It's really your money. You couldn't do it yourself. First of all, if you did, nobody would accept it. They'll accept it if we do it because we have our name on it, and they respect us, and they're pretty sure that this is a secure arrangement. Maybe they're wrong on that, but that's another issue. If the bank issues a banknote, people say, oh, banknote, that's the Bank of America. That's good. I know those people. They wouldn't cheat me, would they? But they wouldn't do the same thing if Bill Brown put his name on the banknote. If it wasn't a banknote, but a Bill Brown note. He'd say, okay, I got some Bill Brown notes here for my house. I've broken it down into $1 units. Anybody want to take them and give me money for them, the real money? And I'll give you my little $1 promise to pay. But nobody would take that. But if he goes to the bank, and the bank does essentially the same thing for him, but instead of saying it's a Bill Brown note, now they call it a Bank of America note. And in modern times, they call it a Federal Reserve note because the banks all are able to do that using the Federal Reserve name as an umbrella, but it's really a banknote of the bank itself. People will accept it. And so, Bill Brown now has money that he couldn't have gotten any other way, or this is the easiest way anyway, and it's perfectly good money. So, there are rules and regulations for that. Now, when Bill Brown pays back that loan, or not that loan, but pays the money back to the bank, because remember, it's not a loan. They created the money for him. Well, then that obligation on the bank's part goes down, 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 until finally when it's all paid back, everybody's back to where they started from again, and the bank has actually performed a service that is beneficial to the economy, because it converts tangible property of all kinds into money that can circulate. For that, I believe the bank deserves a fee. Not interest. It's not interest. Nobody provided that money except the borrower himself or the homeowner. So it's not interest. They call it interest, but it's not. It's a fee for converting the property into circulating money. And I believe a respectable fee for that service would probably be, 3%, 4%, maybe 5% of the value of the conversion one time. Not 30 times. By calling it interest, they collect that fee 30 times over a 30-year so-called loan. And there's the trick, ladies and gentlemen. The bank did perform a legitimate service, but they overcharged, terribly overcharged for that service by calling it a loan. Now, having said that, we come back to the situation where a lawyer or a team of lawyers are going to promise to you to get that home paid off completely, to get the bank out of it. Because when they issued the document to you, they didn't tell you that the money was based on your value. Or maybe they didn't disclose 2 or 3 other little things in the contract. And therefore, they violated the law. And therefore, that was a fraud. And therefore, the court will reject the loan because a loan made on the basis of a fraud is null and void, non-enforceable, and you can get your home free because the bank's made a mistake. And this is going on all the time. Now, is this fair? That's a tough one, isn't it? You know? Whether it's the home or a 50-inch TV set, let's go to the 50-inch TV set now. Let's suppose the same thing happened there, and you get a lawyer, and he goes to the bank, or goes to the court, and the court says, yeah, The bank issued